What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel, 100% dedicated to the Arsenal, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen, although not necessarily in the transfer window. I have to say, going into this window before it opened last Wednesday, I was really excited. All of the players that we were talking about coming to Arsenal that were really being linked with were players that played in positions we really needed. If you start off with Declan Rice, yeah, absolutely. And not for the first time, or probably the last, we need defensive midfielders. We've always shied away from buying them. We've got Thomas Partey in, and he'd made a real difference. I'm happy that we're linked with Declan Rice, and I still feel really confident that's being done. Moses Caicedo as well made perfect sense because we are apparently losing Granit Xhaka and possibly Thomas Partey if all the rumours to be. So if you're one short already, you have to go and get two if you're losing another one. So that made perfect sense. João Cancelo as cover on the left or the right would mean that, we could play him on the right and bring Ben White in if we needed a centre-back. It means we probably wouldn't have to go out and buy Mark Guehi or another centre-back. João Cancelo, for years, was considered the best full-back in the world, and I don't think he's dropped off that dramatically. After all this season, he's won the Premier League and the Bundesliga in the same season. Ilkay Gundogan, I don't think that's going to happen. Barcelona have apparently made him their top priority, and I'm sure they will do everything they can to convince him to go there. And it just makes a little bit more sense than leaving Manchester City to go to second place Arsenal. There is clearly a huge amount of affection for him at Manchester City, and they are doing everything they can to get him to sign a year extension. So I don't think we'll necessarily get him, but Xavi Simons to play in the middle, that he could play across the midfield. All of the players we were linked with, in short, were players that played in positions we needed. And we got a disappointment at the end of last week that we were pulling out of the Caicedo transfer. I don't know if that's a definite, but things have progressed, and now Chelsea seem to be in the box seat to do that. Questions arise at Chelsea because they obviously have to sell some players. The reason that Mount's leaving and to get some money on the books, and they've already splurged a lot of money on players that they have to figure out a way to either keep or sell. So finding out that they're going to go and spend big money on a player, it didn't make a lot of sense, but now they are in the box seat for that one. And what came out at the same time as finding out that Arsenal aren't in the running for Caicedo anymore was that we are apparently really seriously looking to sign Kai Havertz. Now, I did a video about this already, so I'm on record as saying I'm not only not sure why we want him, but I'd be really disappointed if we signed him because he plays, he has played where you expect him to play, and no one really knows where his best position is yet. Ali McCoist's very vocal about him on TalkSport, saying that Chelsea just played him out of position. They've variously played him as a 9, and his argument was he's more of a 10, but since Chelsea don't have a 9, I know that when he first came to Chelsea, they played him on the right. The obvious position that he would play, I think, played for Potter, played for Lampard, is the position that Saka plays for us. And let's not forget, Saka's played 76 games in 2 years. I know we've got the Champions League coming up, but if we're focusing our early attention on a player that's backup, it's a bench player, when there are still positions we need to fill beyond that, that's slightly concerning. Now, we know that Kai Havertz was fated as a world-class player, a truly sensational player. He scored a winning goal in the Champions League. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But it hasn't happened for him in 3 years at Chelsea. You can make all kinds of excuses for that. He's played under different managers. It hasn't been going well. But for me, I haven't seen anything from him in terms of character and mentality that says to me that he's a born winner in the way that you do see in players like Declan Rice. But all of this, I will say, I'm happy to trust Arteta and Edu's judgment. They have apparently seen something in Kai Havertz. And it's also worth saying, look, he has been linked with Bayern, he has been linked with Man City and us. So it's not just Arteta that sees something in him. But I worry that Arteta really backs himself to get the best out of Kai Havertz when actually that's just making life hard for yourself. Go and get the players in the positions that you can already see working out. We have more than enough attacking prowess at the moment. We scored 88 goals last season, which is plenty to win a league with. we need to shore up the defence. There's no way Kai Havertz does that. Declan Rice obviously would do, but I am really surprised about this, not just for all the reasons I've already mentioned, but look, the other thing is, if we're about to put, and the money being talked about is 60 million. You know, we're talking about buying a player for the second largest transfer fee Arsenal have ever spent in a position that we don't really need urgently filling, by a player who's had 3 years to prove himself and hasn't yet. Meanwhile, it looks like we are selling Balogun for around 30 million. And look, I know Balogun's only scored his goals in the French league, but he has scored more goals in the last season than Kai Havertz has scored in all 3 seasons at Chelsea. So I feel disappointed that we wouldn't bring him back and give him a shot. All these issues are just the big reason I don't like transfer windows. I should probably go into an induced coma and wake up on the last day and then have that sort of frenetic last 12 hours of the transfer window. All of this speculation upon speculation. I mean, even the quote, if you look at, Fabrizio Romano being quoted as saying Arsenal only buy a player if they're 100% sure. Yeah, but they can be 100% sure and also be 100% wrong. You know, so it doesn't really help to be 100% sure. It just means that you're going after players you really want. There was no talk about Kai Havertz before. You know, for meticulous planning, we're always being told that so much planning goes into these and it's months of negotiation. This one just seemed to pop up out of nowhere. I could be completely wrong about that. But for me, the big problems around Kai Havertz are that we are not apparently going out and getting the players that we should be getting. And if we're giving £60 million to Chelsea so that they can go and buy Moses Caicedo, who in their right mind right now would pick Kai Havertz over Moses Caicedo? I get that the amount being asked for from Brighton is too much for Moises. I cannot fathom how it makes any sense for Chelsea to be going in for him when they need to recoup some money to bring themselves in line with FFP. If this is just a stupid decision by Chelsea, well, I've seen enough of those and this could just be another one. Fine, makes sense. But the really strong talk at the moment is that Kai Havertz is really wanted by Arteta. He has something in mind for him, and I can't see it. But if you're going to back one of me or Arteta to do your transfers, like even I go for Arteta. So hopefully this isn't just sort of. I hope it's not another Willian, because I was thinking about this really legitimately. I'm not trying to which is the last transfer I was less happy about than Kai Havertz. Ramsdale springs to mind, but I just figured he'd be back up to Bernd Leno. Willian, I really liked at Chelsea. I was disappointed it worked out so badly. It did work out badly. I wouldn't have given him as long as Arteta did. I honestly can't remember the last time we signed a player that I was less impressed by. Why does it matter? Well, it matters to me in one way, and this is speculation. I think if Arteta has decided he's seen something in Kai Havertz and that he can bring it out, and that's going to demonstrate, look what he did with Xhaka, look what he did with Odegaard. If he's started to drink the Kool-Aid and think that he can turn anyone, or either he's right and he's been right more often he's been wrong, or he's going to stick with Kai Havertz like he stuck with Willian, and that could be problematic. The best guess I would have is that he does see him in that 8 position, and then that raises all these questions about Smith Rowe again. But in any case, I don't want to talk too much about Kai Havertz. It looks like it's happening. My hope is that we are just dangling this potential transfer in front of Chelsea so that they get their hopes up and overbid for Moses, and then we pull out and we go. I don't know. It's all far too, if this is a transfer window, it's a tinted one, and I have no idea what's going on inside Arsenal or how much of this is true anyway. On that, I do also just want to talk about more positive things. Romeo Lavia at Southampton obviously left Man City at the start of the season to go to Southampton. Had a great season. Pep Guardiola has been talking about him. They have a buyback clause of 40 million. Doesn't look like they're going to activate it, and there is now apparently strong interest. And this one does make sense. It's in a position that we do need to fill. He plays the centre defensive midfielder, really plenty of potential, very young, and an exciting prospect, and had a great game against us, which always helps, right? So really strong rumours linking us with him. We'll have to see how that pans out. İlkay Gündoğan is still up for grabs, but look, I don't know about you, but I just don't see it. I don't think he leaves his friends and his teammates at Man City to go and try and beat them at Arsenal. He could stay at City. They're looking like they're offering him a 1-year extension. He's 32. He could go to Bayern Munich. The team that are really apparently heavily in for him are Barcelona. They've made him their number one priority. And I just think when it comes to Barcelona, I think their pull of that's going to be too strong. I would dearly love to be wrong on this one. We do need some more midfield cover, because if we are just making Rice our number one target this summer, we're going to need someone else. So Lavia makes sense. But I also just want to really quickly touch on the Declan Rice thing. Not that there's any more to say on this, but I know West Ham fans and the West Ham board apparently found our record offer derisory. Someone's going to have to explain this to me. We offered more than we've ever paid for a player. It's not small money. Apparently it has to do with the fact that the way we wanted to stagger the payments or something, they would rather have it up front. But a lot of this seems to me unbelievable in the purest sense of the word. Do I really think that people around Declan Rice were surprised we only offered 80 million for him? Yeah, actually. And why is that a problem? Like, if you can get him for 80 million, wouldn't you want... People talk about the difference between 80 million and 20 million like it's 20 quid. It's not. It's the amount we spent on Kivior. Anyway, I think we are very close with Declan Rice. I don't see Man City gazumping us on this one, but I think we all just want it done and dusted quickly. If we can get Declan Rice done quickly, then, maybe it'll soften the blow for me of Kai Havertz. I desperately want to know how you feel about Kai Havertz. It seems to have divided opinion, but I'd say it's about 75-25. I think 25% of people can see a reason why we'd want him. He's got potential. He's scored a winning goal in Champions League. He's a talented player. His time in Germany, all of that stuff. I mean, on the 3 years he spent at Chelsea, I don't think you'd make a case for him being one of our top priority targets. And if Arteta has seen something in him and can bring that out of him by either changing his position or really putting him in a team where it gets the best out of him, and I'm wrong about his attitude and he's not a bit sulky and he goes on to be the next Dennis Bergkamp or Robin van Persie, as so many people are saying, I will be delighted. But if this is going to be one of those ones where Arteta backs himself into a corner and has to stick with him, it could really damage our season next season. He could give him too many games. And so, God, I rambled a bit at the end now. I'm so sorry. And maybe hit subscribe. And if you all hit subscribe, I promise to make shorter videos in the future. But until I see you again, perhaps tomorrow. I don't think anything's going to happen tomorrow. I don't think anything's going to happen on Monday. I'm almost at this point convinced that Declan Rice will sign on the 11th hour of transfer day, and I will have pulled all my hair out by then, just reading the same story written in different words. Rice to Arsenal. Arsenal keen on Rice. Declan to other teams may sign Rice, but you know exactly what it's like at the moment. The only other thing to say is au revoir, Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, and a whole list. Actually, I'm going to do a video tomorrow of everyone that went out. Matt Smith is another notable departure. Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, for me, just a story of what might have been. At exactly the time where Bukayo Saka's happy to play wherever he's put, Ainsley Maitland-Niles determined not to be a right back, wants to play in defensive midfield. Just seems to me the irony now is that they're both the same position, really. He could be an inverted fullback and have his way, and he might be perfect for that. I think he'd had a troubled family life. We know all about that. He did win an FA Cup with us. He was a product of the academy and a really good player. And I just see it as that kind of, I don't really know what happened behind the scenes, but it was obvious that him and Arteta fell out. We turned down 20 million when we should have probably taken it, and then sent him on loan to West Bromwich Albion. It all seemed to be because he was determined that he wanted to play in midfield and not right back. And I think if there is a lesson in this, it's just get on the pitch, play where you're asked to play your heart out for the badge, and good things come as a result of it. If you don't get that right, you end up playing right back at a relegated team. And now I think he'll go to a decent club. There will be a lot of clubs in for him, surely. But it's a case of what might have been. He played such a big part in winning that FA Cup as well. So I'm really wishing him well. And it's always sad to see one of your own go. But thanks for service, Ainsley, and best of luck in your career going forward, unless you sign for Tottenham. But that's never going to happen, right? Anyway, till I see you again, be lucky. Lots of love.